What would you do if the word cancer landed on your life in the middle of homeschooling your 4-year-old, living your most intentional, holistic, faith filled life, and you had to figure out how to hold all of it together? That's exactly where today's guest found herself. My guest today is Natalie Frey. She's 38 years old, a homeschooling mama to a sweet 4-year-old girl, a woman deep faith, and my kind of person, fully crunchy. And then in November of 2024, she was diagnosed with lobular breast cancer. What I love about Natalie's story is how she didn't abandon who she was when the diagnosis hit. She leaned in harder to her faith, to her holistic practices, to her community, and she came out on the other side. She finished treatment in October 2025, and now she's doing the real work of healing, building her body back up, addressing osteopenia holistically, and living fully. She shares her life over on Instagram at the Mom, Wife, and Christ Life. I'll have that in the show notes, of course. And trust me, she is the real deal. Let's get into it, Natalie. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to just take me back to November of 2024. What was life looking like right before the diagnosis? And then how did you find out?
Okay, so life was actually difficult for me because I had found the lumps 9 months prior and they were being monitored via ultrasound. But I knew within my soul something was really wrong. Really, really wrong. I didn't necessarily think I had breast cancer because I thought naively that breast cancer would be really identifiable, that they would have looked at an ultrasound and said, that's breast cancer. But I
So
just
you
knew
felt
something was
this
wrong.
9 months prior. You felt this 9 months prior, and you brought it to your doctors.
Yeah, so actually, I didn't find the lump. So I was still breastfeeding my daughter. She was 2.5 at that point. And when you're breastfeeding, I just didn't touch my breasts much. You know, you're not meant to put lotion on them, you're not meant to put soap directly on them. So I actually hadn't felt my breast properly in a while, which I don't recommend to anybody. But it was actually a pap smear that they were discovered. Yes. And when my daughter was about 4 months old, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Jen. I kept having this strong thought that wasn't my thought, and it kept telling me to get a pap smear. And I kept thinking, gosh, is there something wrong down there? And I thought, no, there's nothing wrong. I've just had a daughter. I had a pap smear a year ago. And God was just kept saying to me, pap smear, pap smear. And then they were found during a pap smear.
Wow. Okay, tell me how is that? Because you typically think breast cancer that this would be discovered on a mammogram. Like, how did a Pap smear discover this?
So I don't know if every state's different, but over here with the pap smear, they like swab your vagina and then they check your breasts. And when they checked my breasts, she checked the right one first and you could tell that she found nothing. And she went straight over to the left and she was lingering. And my heart sank. And I said, do you feel something? And she felt several lumps. And when I felt them, I couldn't believe that I hadn't felt them before.
Yes, you're right. That is what happens. I was like thinking it was like from the Pap smear they discovered
No.
something, which then okay, got it. Yeah, totally makes sense. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So okay, she finds this, and then what happens?
So then they recommended that I get an ultrasound.
Hmm.
It was a weird one. My heart sank. Obviously, you find out you've got a lump in your breast, your heart would sink. But it was just this deeper feeling of this is it. I can sense something was about to be wrong with me. This is it.
Hmm.
So they recommended ultrasounds. So I was having ultrasounds every 3 months for 9 months, and it was coming back. These are likely benign. I was put into a BIRADS category 2. But where my anxiety was coming from is that why can they not tell me what these lumps are? Why can they not identify them? They're saying it's not fibroadenoma. So why can't they tell me? But they were saying that they had clear borders. So I thought, okay, that can't be cancer. Cancer, they don't have, tumors don't have clear borders.
Hmm.
But my anxiety was so bad that my husband said, just please just go and see a specialist. And I was like, do you know what? I know I didn't want to, even though I knew I had to. It was that feeling of not wanting to know, but needing to know.
Yeah.
And so I found my surgeon, who ended up being my oncologist surgeon, who is the most amazing doctor in the world. And she took it from there.
And so did you do further testing, and how did you okay.
So
And then that
do you know what the scary part was? She had an ultrasound machine in her office and she looked and she instantly said, these don't have clear borders.
mm,
So I got quite
weird
angry.
because you heard last time
Yeah,
that it did have clear borders.
yeah.
Okay.
And then she told me that she wanted me to have a mammogram. And being the holistic person that I am, I was like, I don't want to expose myself to radiation. So she wrote me a script for a mammogram. And then I called back the office and said, can you change it to an MRI with contrast?
Hmm.
And then she called me off her cell phone and she was like, why do you not want it? Let's talk about it. So she said, okay. So I had the MRI with contrast and it showed that there was more blood flow to that area, but it couldn't identify something. So then she said the only next step, the gold standard, is a mammogram. So that's what I had. I had a mammogram.
And that's when, okay, so then at that point, after that, you discover, or you do, I'm sure, why can't I think of it? You did a
Biopsy.
biopsy. Biopsy.
Yeah. So what happened is I had a mammogram with contrast and the same thing, they couldn't say that I had cancer and they couldn't say that I didn't, but
Hmm.
luckily my surgeon was in the hospital that day and she looked at the imaging with the radiologist and she said, we have to do a biopsy. That's the only step now. You want to ease yourself of anxiety and know for certain that's what we have to do. And she actually cleared her schedule for me that morning because I was there and she did the biopsy.
What a
And
good
then a few
doctor.
days later I get the phone call.
And how did you handle the phone call?
I remember it like it was yesterday, which I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
It was just, it was like, but you cling on to that hope. And my whole world just collapsed. I
Mm.
was on the floor in a ball crying. It
Yeah.
was devastating. I remember just crying my eyes out saying, please don't let me die. I have a 2-year-old daughter. And am I going to lose my hair? That was the two things that I kept repeating. Yeah.
Yes. Oh gosh, I think we all remember that horrific day when we get that call, and it is wild how we automatically go to worst case scenario, even though what's amazing is it's so different than what it used to be and what we know about breast cancer. And I remember when I went in to get my biopsy done, and I had already gotten a phone call the day before from the nurse, and she said the doctor looked at it and she really is suspecting that this is cancer. So I kind of went into that biopsy thinking it was. And she said, well, asked me, who told you that? I'm like, the nurse. She said, okay, well, if it is, breast cancer is so different than what it used to be. It is very, very treatable. And that did make me feel better. And it really is. Like, even I have women on here and I interview women on here with stage 4 breast cancer. And they are years and years and years and years out living a very good life. So,
So
like,
exciting.
it really is. And so you just need to keep that in mind that, like, it's not what it is or it used to be. But with that being said,
You
it
don't feel that
doesn't
way at the time.
you don't. When
Not
you hear the
logically
words
thinking.
yeah, you think automatically my life is over. It's gotta be everywhere, and you just think the worst of the worst and my life is over. Okay, so you find out, tell me about lobular breast cancer because it is very different than ductal cancer. And I know a lot of women really don't know a lot about it. So I'd love for you to kind of share and educate us on lobular breast cancer.
Sure, but I'm by no means an expert and my knowledge is minimal. But what I will say, it's incredibly scary. So it's not some rare type of cancer. 1 in 5 breast cancer cases in the US are lobular. And lobular is scary because it hides. It hides on imaging, which is why in all of my imaging, no doctor could say this is breast cancer. So imagine, okay, I have paper here. So see this paper? Imagine this is a tumor. So with ductal, you see the tumor like that. With lobular, it's like this. It's in lines. So you can't see it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which it's terrifying. And what I didn't know prior to my diagnosis, I naively thought that you would always feel a lump in your breast. I didn't know that you could have breast cancer without feeling a lump, that you can have non-palpable lumps in your breast, which is why mammograms are so important.
Yeah.
So yeah, and lobular breast cancer is also very slow growing.
Mhm.
And it's, I think like 99% of the time, it's hormone positive.
Okay. Did you have a stage I mean, I'm assuming you did, stage and grade with lobular?
Yes, so the grades of my tumor were luckily grade 1 tumors. I had many tumors. Lobular is multifocal usually. And then staging, my anatomical staging was 3A and my prognostic staging 1B.
Okay. Okay. And so when you all right, so you get that, what happens next as far as treatment goes? You kind of pull yourself up. You let yourself cry. Do you pick yourself back up? Like, how I know so much faith, and did
Yeah.
that help you
Oh,
with those initial few
it
days?
lit I felt God just catch me. And
Yeah.
He had drawn me closer to him in the months prior. This is how I knew something was going to happen in my life, something big. I could just feel him drawing me closer. So when I got that diagnosis, it was my husband who was physically holding me, but I felt God. And don't get me wrong, I was so depressed, so upset. Anyone who's been diagnosed will know when you wake up the next morning, you start crying because it hits you. Okay, this is real life. This wasn't a dream. This actually happened. And you go for that grief again. But yeah, God definitely carried me through that and he picked me up. And I remember the first thought that I had that evening once I gathered myself was, I want to help people
Mm.
because that fear that you feel, it's indescribable. And so, yeah, but during that phone call with my surgeon, I kind of blanked out. My husband sort of had to take over. She had told me that I had to stop breastfeeding within 2 weeks because I'd be having surgery within a few weeks.
Wow. Okay. And so you had surgery and then what other you had chemotherapy?
Yeah, so I had a
And
double
how
mastectomy,
okay, double mastectomy and then
started chemotherapy. I was meant to start it in the January, but I took about 6, 7 weeks to do my due diligence
mhm.
and to meet with other doctors, holistic doctors, to make the decision as to whether chemotherapy was the route for me. Came to the decision that it was, and I'm really glad with that. I made that decision. It was a good decision, and I started chemotherapy March 26th of last year.
I am so glad you brought that up because I do feel like so many of us rush to
Mhm,
decisions and they're more reactive decisions out of fear instead of based on informed decisions when you really do the work of getting different opinions.
mhm,
And then and like right you're sitting here today who interestingly enough was, more holistic than anything, didn't even want to get a mammogram and here you are so confident in what you did because of everybody you spoke to. That's amazing. It's really amazing. And I feel like I'm the same way. Like I needed to listen to what the doctor said. I of course got multiple opinions as well. And I can sit here like happy with my decision of everything, the route that I took. And yeah, it's all kind of crazy. Anyway, okay. So how does that feel like with being, holistic, you were healthy prior, did that make you feel like, how did this happen to me? Like, I'm doing all the things right. Did you think about that?
I didn't, but everybody else around me did. I
Mhm.
knew that it was stress that caused my cancer. I will never have proof of that. I know I was an anxious person, and it was definitely stress that caused my cancer.
Isn't it wild? It really is wild, Natalie, how often all the research I'm doing, everything comes back to stress.
Always.
And was it like, okay, so for me, I've learned a lot about like I've done the Dutch test. I've learned that I have this high cortisol, like I kind of run hot all the time. I'm that type A personality and I need to just intentionally slow down. Or did you have just some other big stress like life situation? Both.
Yeah,
So you're
both.
both of those
But
things.
I'm yeah, a major type A personality. You know, I actually got an Aura ring for Christmas to monitor my stress levels, and ChatGPT told me to stop wearing it because I would look at my stress levels and be like, "Oh my gosh." But it's not that I'm out of my mind with like worry throughout the day. It's just I'm always on the go and my cortisol levels just run high like yours.
Okay, interesting. And you know what's so funny is I had an Aura ring too, and I was like, I wore it, and at first I had the watch, and I hated the feeling of that watch on my arm. For some reason, I could feel like I feel like I'm just so sensitive to energy, and I didn't like having that on my arm. And then I was like, well, maybe the ring will be fine. I hated it. I was like, don't tell me how much sleep I lacked last night because that is setting my day up for failure. Like,
Exactly.
no. So I just don't do it. I'm like, there's no way I can do it. So, okay, when you figured this out then, did you obviously you were eating healthy, you were doing all the other things. You just basically slowed down.
Yeah, which is really difficult when you're going through cancer treatment. You're a mother to a young child, and it's just me and my husband. We have no family for thousands of miles. It's just us. Obviously, we have great friends, but our daughter's never been left with anybody but him or I. And so it's difficult to do that. It's really difficult to do that. But I've had to just be really intentional. So, as part of my healing, the first thing I addressed was okay, we need to get a hold of my nervous system and slow things down here.
Yeah, so smart. In faith, you've said that your faith is what carried you through. I wanna understand what that actually looked like in real life. You
Yeah.
know, I like, if you're like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this," like, you're struggling in that, what did faith look like in the hard moments?
So there was certain scriptures that I would just repeat,
Mm,
to the point my daughter, who was 3 at the time, she's memorized all these scriptures too. That's how often I would repeat them. There were 2 in particular, Isaiah 41:10 and Jeremiah 29:11. I
okay.
would repeat those constantly. I had my head in the Bible, but my husband would take time from work in the middle of the day to take our daughter to the park so that I could have 30, 45 minutes in the Word, but not just reading it, studying it. And I think when you do that, you do get this surge of confidence that God has got you. And I knew that He was protecting me. He was warning me that something was going to happen. I had just so much faith in His plan for me. And when you're in the situation of having a cancer diagnosis, you kind of have no choice but to have that faith.
Yeah.
You
I'm
don't
I don't know how you get
agree?
through it without it. Like, I really don't. I'm a person that's coming to this without that. I mean, I did go to church every once in a while with my friends. Like, I did. I believe, like, all those things, but it was never like a big part of my life. I didn't grow up with it at all. We never went to church as a family. You know, I was just not knowledgeable about it. And then my group of friends were that now I'm with all the time. They're very religious and really introduced it to me. But again, it didn't really come to me until after my diagnosis. And then it's like what gets you through it. And I feel like I don't know how you navigate something without it, like some
This
sort of spirituality. I don't, maybe it's not this, maybe it's the universe, but like you have to have something, some sort of faith that gets you through this.
No, I say all the time, I don't know how anyone gets through life in general without faith, but
Right.
to get through a cancer diagnosis, and I see it, Jen. I've met so many people on this journey, and the ones that have faith do so much better mentally than the ones who don't.
Yeah. 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 I agree. I agree. I feel like there's less fear attached. Okay. So did your church community rally around you?
Oh my gosh,
Huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't have done it without them.
And was there anything that was like that they did that was so helpful or maybe things that maybe were less helpful? Like what helped you the most and what was like, "Oh, I don't really need that." Maybe there wasn't anything, but
Everything they did was helpful. So
okay.
first and foremost, prayers. I knew these women. I'm part of a Bible study group. It's a mom's Bible study. I
Mhm.
knew not only were my pastor and people in church praying for me, but all of these women, they put together a big care package for me. They got me like gift vouchers for like takeout places, when I was in the depths of chemotherapy. They were just that I knew if I needed something, they were there.
That's amazing. I wanna switch gears a little bit, and I wanna talk about your crunchy and when we say crunchy, if you're
I
like,
love
"What is this crunchy?" It's just kind of a fun word, like, to use in place of, like, holistic. Like, what were some of the modalities that you were using maybe during treatment? You know, what was helpful to you? Like, did you ever do sauna, lymphatic drainage? Like, what was it that helped you maybe in treatment and then after? Because I know a lot of things. Did you do any detox modalities during treatment? Because they say don't do anything.
Yeah, so I was just going to say I had to stop most things.
Yeah,
I decided when I was going to say yes to chemotherapy, my oncologist, who again to me is the best of the best, I trusted him. And he was very open minded to my way of thinking, which really helped. And so he told me I had to stop. I think it was all my supplements, but the things that I carried on with and that I've recommended to women who aren't crunchy or holistic, and they've done them and it's helped them. Two things in particular: detox baths. So I'd have my infusions, my chemotherapy infusions on a Wednesday, and I would have a bath that night. I hate having one. I'm a shower person. I had to force myself into that tub. It was like torture, but I'd have a detox bath every single week, sometimes twice a week. I was doing ionic foot baths and I carried on doing castor oil packs on my liver. I would say I was doing those 5 times a week. And then my other thing, which isn't necessarily a holistic thing, but a lot of people don't realize this. When you get your chemotherapy meds, they run a liter of saline alongside your medication.
yeah.
So I would have that. But when everything finished, all my drugs were finished and I could go home, I would stay and I would have another liter. of fluids, and it helped enormously.
Did your doctor recommend that? How did you know to do
He
that?
didn't recommend that. No, I stumbled across another Instagram account and they'd recommended this, and I did my own research. And essentially, I don't think many people know this. So when you have chemotherapy, it's a little bit like having anesthesia. Once it's done its job, you can start detoxing it. So once they've given you the chemotherapy, it's already got to work. You can start getting all the heavy metals and all the garbage, or the garbage that's in there, out of your system. Hence why I can go straight home and have a detox bath. And the saline helps start flushing things out. And it just hydrates you on a cellular level. It's so much different to you glugging a liter of water back home.
That is, I'm going to tell you, Natalie, that is, I think, the best thing I've ever heard anybody ever say as a guest.
Okay, that's good.
No, because I feel like that's really helpful information. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, but you
And I've
have to
also,
ask your oncologist.
correct.
Most of them will say yes.
Okay, correct. Remember, this is disclaimer. This is not medical advice. We are
Yeah.
not giving medical advice. Always talk to your doctor. But was your doctor, your oncologist, okay with the detox baths and 100%? What was in the detox bath?
So 1 cup of Epsom salts. Well,
Uh-huh.
I use magnesium flakes, pure
Okay.
magnesium flakes, but you can use Epsom salts. 1 cup of baking soda and 1 cup of the Aztec clay. You know, the Indian Aztec clay. All of these are on Amazon. So one equal measure of each, and soak for as long as you can in water as hot as you can bear, and then rinse it off and you're done.
That's amazing. And then the little the ionic foot bath, that's like something you can get on Amazon, right? What is
Yeah,
it's
you
just
can.
like this.
To be honest, I didn't notice the biggest difference. It wasn't something I felt. I did with the detox baths, but I knew it was doing something and I bought it. So I kept up with it and I was allowed to do it.
And that's not that expensive, is it? The ionic?
It was about 120, the one that
Okay.
I did a lot of research because there's a lot of garbage out there.
Okay, can you do me a favor and send me the one that you used and then we'll put it in the show notes?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. And then the castor oil packs, again, your oncologist was okay with that? Okay. And do you have a favorite brand of castor oil?
Yes, it is Queen of Thrones. You can
Yep,
get it
that's
on Amazon. Yeah.
use that one too. So I'll put that in the show notes as well.
And I will say, obviously, I used it on my liver. My blood work throughout was impeccable. My liver function
Wow.
impeccable. Everything was 10 out of 10. Yeah,
Wow.
apart from
Okay.
my white blood cell count and my iron, which you can't avoid, it didn't
Right.
even look like I was going through chemotherapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 And did you worry? Okay. So again, I know I'm going to get questions. Did you worry like, oh my gosh? So you've read and researched that the once the chemo hits you, it doesn't need to stay in
Yeah,
to
you
be
can start
effective.
detoxing it. It
Wow.
gets straight to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I like it.
It's the
And then
heavy metals, Jen, the heavy metals that stack on top of each other and they're cumulative. That's why people get so tired towards the end of chemotherapy. So you can try and help yourself and try and detox those. And I just want people to bear in mind that I had to come home from an infusion and be straight back into mom mode. I never napped throughout chemotherapy. I had to look after my daughter day and night. Well,
that's
nighttime, my
amazing.
husband took the monitor. I have to give him that credit. He works so hard. But I had to be a mom. I couldn't just take a day off. My husband is the breadwinner. He has a business to run. He's
Yeah.
juggling everything. So it does do something. What I was doing does do something because people just don't have that kind of energy throughout chemotherapy.
Absolutely. Like, that's unbelievable. Like, wow,
Yeah.
such good information. I cannot even wait to share this. Okay. So now what do you do currently as far
Okay.
as like, what's a day look like for you as far as like detoxing and,
Okay. So things right now. So I finished radiation at the end of October.
Mhm,
And I had family come over for a couple of months from England. So I said, okay, I'm going to give myself November and December. And then when January hits, start focusing on what needs to be done.
mhm.
So I felt really overwhelmed. There was so much I needed to start, whether it was start from fresh or start up again. It was just so overwhelming. It was making me anxious. So my husband said, well, just take things a step at a time. Choose one or two things, nail those, develop a habit, and then move on to the next.
You got a good husband.
I know, he's very smart. So that's what I did. So I started up again with a bunch of my supplements. I carried on with my detox baths and my castor oil packs and all of that. I was able to start having IV infusions, vitamin IV infusions, because I was getting those before chemotherapy, massages, all of those kind of things. But for me right now, I've just been nailing sleep, stress levels, exercise, and diet. They're the four things that I've been working on since January.
Okay, and how do you, because so many women talk about their sleep. So let's talk about these 4 things. Sleep is a struggle
Yeah.
for a lot of women. When we're lacking estrogen, we're stressed, we're hot flash city, we're night sweats, we're like, how do you or what do you take? Is there something that helps you with sleep?
Yeah, so I've always took magnesium glycinate. I think I've said that right, at nighttime. And also the castor oil packs also help relax you and put you into that deep sleep. But I discovered some gummies. They're by a brand called Cure,
Mm,
and I take the Serenity gummies and sometimes the Dream gummies, and they help like keep you in a deep sleep. And I will say, although my aura ring stressed me out with the stress levels, my sleep was excellent. And I was so
wow.
shocked.
Okay, so the magnesium you take every night,
Yeah,
castor oil pack you do every night?
not every night. I would say 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay. And you just put it on do you wear it all night or just
No, no. So when I start to wind down for the evening, I'll read in bed, spend time with my husband, those kind of things. I will keep it on for a couple of hours. The
okay,
only reason I don't keep it on at night is because I'm on tamoxifen, I get hot flashes. I just don't need another layer of something on me.
right.
I just
Okay,
don't
and
need
then
it.
would you mind giving us that link for the Cure gummies
Yeah,
too?
of course, I'll
Just
send
okay,
everything.
great. Okay, and then let's talk about stress. How have you been able to manage that?
I was trying my hardest doing things like breath work and started up exercising again. And I just realized that I had so much trauma that I hadn't processed that it was almost impossible for me to regulate my nervous system. So I remember I went to my husband about 2 months ago and I was upset and I said, I think I need to speak to somebody. And he was like, of course you can speak to somebody. He said, but I want you to do something first. I think I was the only person in the Western world that didn't have ChatGPT. He said, I want you to download ChatGPT and I want you to prompt it with this, this, and this, and ask it to sort of talk to you like a therapist would. Jen, it was 8 o'clock at night. I downloaded it. I go to bed, not as early as you, but early. It
Yeah.
was nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, and I swear I felt the lightest I have felt in years. Just offloading to ChatGPT and it giving me back such good feedback. It knew me. It the responses, I was like, that's me. And so offloading is basically what I did.
So smart, and oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. If you are listening and you're not utilizing chat as your therapist, I mean, it is absolutely insane. One time I like had, I don't even remember, some meltdown of some sorts. And I think it was with my daughter. I don't even know what it was. Went into chat. I said everything that was happening. And they're like, and I just feel like I felt like overwhelmed. Like I had a lot on my plate and I put in everything. They're like, Jen, take a deep breath.
I
You
love the
do
way.
a lot. I want you to go right now, grab Phoebe, go take her on a walk. I'm like, they know my dog. And they're like, you do so much for the world. Like literally, I was crying at the end reading what it said to me.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
I was like, I couldn't even believe it. So, okay, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's
And I
fantastic.
do have to say, there's definitely a place for an actual therapist, and I'm not knocking those. But for
Right.
me, I am somebody, I want results. I don't have the time for hour sessions here and there. I felt that night I spoke to ChatGPT like it was 18 months worth of therapy sessions in a night.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. I like sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, I really could use therapy. And the thought of going in and explaining my whole life, like if
Exhausting.
they knew everything, it would take weeks for me to explain my life. And then all of a sudden, then most of us know. I mean, there are some people too, like antidepressants, like some of us that have gone through cancer, like it's needed, right? I've thought about it. I haven't done it. I've still, Darren sometimes will be like, should you? I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? But no, it is kind of crazy what chat can do for you.
Mhm.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Anything else with stress?
Yeah, so I have to start my day. I have to start my day before I pick up my phone, which is on airplane mode away from me. I
Same. I
have
do the
to
same.
read my Bible and a devotional, take some deep breaths, because I didn't know until ChatGPT told me that when we wake up, we naturally have high cortisol levels.
Mhm.
I was like, this explains a lot. So I take my deep breaths and I try and do all of this before my daughter wakes up. And I just try and have a slow morning. And I don't mean staying in my pajamas. I just mean trying not to rush out of the door. I try my best to do some kind of movement. I don't necessarily always manage to do my exercise in the morning with a daughter. It's just not possible. but just something, and a nutrient dense breakfast. I have my smoothie every morning. It's a non-negotiable. I notice a difference if I don't have it. And just taking those deep breaths, it sounds so basic, but it does work.
It works.
Hmm.
Just laying there for a second, some stretching, deep breaths, telling
Yeah.
yourself today's gonna be a really good day, something
Yes,
amazing
doing
is
that.
gonna happen. Yeah. And you know what? Darren and I, we got a sleep divorced. We're empty nesters. We live by ourselves. We've got like 2 spaces and we don't have kids here, so there's no judgment. And not that I'm recommending this, but for us, it was needed because there was snoring. There was like, I needed sleep and I needed to protect my sleep. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, we hang out and do all of our things. But when I'm ready to sleep, I sleep. And so does he. And it's been amazing for our marriage. And so what I've been doing, this is really amazing, is that we got this new couch and I like to, have my cup of coffee and I didn't want I'm a big spiller. Like I will admit it is ridiculous. I spill left and right. So I have been bringing my coffee back into bed and it's like the best thing ever. It's like, when you're on vacation and you're at a hotel and you get coffee delivered and or tea or whatever you drink and you sit with in bed, that's how I'm every morning. And I always listen to something, maybe do a little red light. Like I am like completely zen in the morning and it's the best thing ever.
Well,
So,
do you know what you're doing? You're romanticizing your life.
yes, absolutely. It's amazing. It is like my favorite thing in the world.
But
So,
let's
okay,
just say,
good. All right, what about exercise?
okay, so I hadn't intentionally I'm an active mom. I'm always on the go, but hadn't intentionally exercised since 2019. Okay. I'm naturally very small. I never like needed to lose weight or anything, but I know how important exercise is when it comes to cancer and reoccurrences and just mental health in general. So I've been starting up with Pilates all at home. Everything's on YouTube and trying to do like weighted exercises because as we spoke about, I'm trying to heal osteopenia naturally. I'm trying to avoid having a reclast infusion. So I've been trying to do that. And yeah, I think that's really helped. It's really helped my mental health.
It is amazing what exercise can do for you and
Mhm.
for our bone health. Like it's
Yeah.
so
Oh,
important. Don't forget to those that are concerned about osteopenia, osteoporosis, make sure you're jumping. Hard impact, like just like 30 jumps, like 30 jumps up and down on your like feet, like kind of hard. And if you could do one leg, 20 on one leg, 20 on the other, that's so good for your bones. Just enough time for that message when you start jumping gets sent to your brain to actually start working on your bones. So another thing, and then along with lifting. So that's great. Yeah, exercises for me is like pure therapy. When I don't have it, I can tell like I'm getting in a bad mood. But I think there also needs to be, again, it's a stressor, right? It raises your cortisol. So you gotta, if you're in the middle of healing and treatment, give yourself grace, do more
mhm.
restorative type workouts, yoga, like just being kind to yourself. And so did you find out you had osteopenia after treatment or have you always had it or?
So, when my oncologist said he wanted me to start tamoxifen, he said, "Have you had a bone scan?" Answer was no. He said, "Okay, we need a baseline." So he sent me for a bone scan, and I was thinking twice about it. And he said, "You're in osteopenia." Now, I will say, I'm a celiac, so I know osteoporosis and celiac disease are closely linked. So I
Uh-huh.
could have had this for years. Chemotherapy could have caused it. My mom has osteoporosis, but she also had breast cancer and is on hormotherapy drugs. So I don't know if hers is because of a genetic disposition or what she's been on. So it's a difficult one to nail what caused mine, but he recommended that I have a reclast infusion. And it was just that gut instinct that has carried me through that said, let's do a little bit of research. And so I asked him if I could try and raise my bone density naturally. He wanted me to have the infusion still, but I said, I want to do this. So I'm trying to do this myself because I just don't want something else in my body right now.
I agree. I mean, that was me too. Again, not medical advice. You have to do whatever your doctor's saying that you feel is right for you. I mean, I was thrown into osteoporosis.
Mhm.
That was after I was on the AI for 2 years and they had never seen a such rapid decline. And so I didn't even do the drugs then. And I was able to stop and reverse it slightly. And the other thing is making sure, do you have any thoughts on it? I mean, I also take lots of almonds. Tahini is great.
Prunes.
Prunes are amazing. Anything else?
I forgot, ChatGPT is throwing so much information my way. I forget what's what. But again, ask ChatGPT, it will tell
Yeah,
you.
it
Yeah,
will.
it will
It
tell
will. Okay, good. And then last thing is diet. Like, so what have you changed with your diet, or what is a
you. So
typical?
Okay, so I've always had a very clean diet, no
Uh-huh.
gluten. I've always chosen not to have eggs or dairy. One of the things that was stressing me out last year when I was going through active treatment was, what do I do about my diet after? Because you start doing research, you have this group of people that are plant-based and have all these excellent results, but then you have the carnivore diet and they also have all this information. And it was boggling my mind and stressing me out. So I put all of this off. And then when it came to actually having to make a decision, I was like, I don't know what to do. So during my therapy sessions with ChatGPT, I was telling ChatGPT this, and they said they,
I
him.
think you can name them whoever you want.
Yeah, he said that the foods that I naturally like might actually be the way forward. So I'm basically on a Mediterranean diet.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, they are the foods that I like. It's anti-inflammatory, tiny bit of meat here and there, a little bit of fish, but it's a tiny bit of dairy, but it's predominantly vegetables
Yeah.
and lots of good oils. So that is the kind of diet that I'm following right now.
Amazing. And that is the best one. I mean, it really is. Lots of fiber. I think
Fiber.
the one thing you can do is more fruits, more vegetables,
Mhm.
more fiber.
Yeah.
Most women are deficient in fiber. I know I was not getting enough fiber prior to my diagnosis, and fiber is like the best thing we can do for ourselves.
I think people are so focused on protein that
So
they forget
focused
about
on
fiber,
protein.
and it is. So my diet, fiber comes first.
Yes. Same, same, same. Okay, so how are you doing right now? Like really, like how are you feeling? Like the woman you're becoming? I know when you just ended everything recently, like was that how did that feel? Was it, "Oh my gosh, who am I now? Who am I going forward?" Did you go through that?
It was an odd one for me. I think what clouded me celebrating finishing everything is that at the end of everything, I was scheduled to have another body scan. And the scan anxiety that I get is, I know everybody gets it, but wow. Wow, wow, wow. So that clouded things, and praise Jesus, everything was clear. But then, like I said, when I went to my husband, however many weeks ago, and said, I think I need to talk to somebody, I realized how much I just powered through treatment because you have no choice but to do that. And I felt quite depressed. I would say the last 5 weeks, I've been doing so much work with ChatGPT and all of the things that we've just spoken about, diet, exercise, ensuring that I am starting my day in the Word. I'm scared to say it, I don't want to jinx myself, but I feel the best I've felt in years.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
worry, you're not jinxing yourself. I
Yeah.
also think like that's powerful to say that. I think
Mhm.
putting it out there is like a powerful thing, and you look great. You look healthy, and
Yeah.
I love your hair. So what would you say to another mom, woman that's walking through breast cancer? What do you wish someone had told you? Especially with, my kids were 15 and 20. And so like it's different when they're older, when they're so young. I mean, she was 2 years old, right?
She was just about to turn 3.
Yeah, like what would you say to somebody who has young kids?
By way of general advice or getting through
Yeah,
chemotherapy?
general advice. Like then they just get a diagnosis treatment. I mean, I'm sorry, they just get a diagnosis.
Yeah, I would say lean on people,
Mhm.
and you will undoubtedly be inundated with mum guilt. I mean, healthy mums have mum guilt. You will feel like you're not doing the best job because of how you're feeling. You're anxious, you're upset, you're going to be going through treatments. You may not be mentally as present, but to give yourself grace and to know that children are resilient. And it sounds so cliche, but you are the best mom for your child. And to just give yourself that grace. Your children will be fine and you will be fine. And be thankful because they are what will keep you going.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And okay, and it may be too soon for this, but this is a question that I always ask my guests. Cancer takes away a lot,
Mhm.
and it can really mess with our heads. At this point, can you see any blessings that have come from it?
A laundry list.
Oh, good. Let's
A
hear a few.
laundry list.
Good.
It's one of those, Jen, that I would never want to go through it again,
Right?
but in a way, I wouldn't take it away.
Mhm.
It has just changed me significantly on every level. It becoming a mom changed me, and I thought, wow, I don't think I could become any more different than who I was. And then I got this diagnosis. You see the world so differently, and you only see it that way when you're faced with your own mortality.
Totally.
You just, I remember I made a reel about this. Have I got time to say this real quick?
Yes, you can talk as long as you
Yeah.
want.
I remember every single night I would be on my hands and knees praying to God. And it was such a genuine gratitude. It wasn't this fake it till you make it, like, let's think of things we're grateful for. I was just so grateful to be alive and to have had that clear scan, which other people don't get, to know that this is something that I'm going to get through. I describe it as seeing your life as a book and knowing that the difficult time I was in was just a few difficult chapters, and I've got all of this to look forward to. It was just such gratitude. And you only get that. It doesn't matter how many beautiful quotes you read and how much you know that health is all that matters and having your loved ones, until you're faced with what we were faced with. You just don't get it.
Yeah, gosh,
You
that
just
is the truth. I think that's a beautiful place to end it. I'm gonna have everything in the show notes. I cannot thank you enough for being here and
thank
trusting
you.
this community with your story, with the hard parts, the faith that held you, the mama heart that kept you going, and the crunchy girl in the cancer world realness that I know so many women needed to hear today. Like, I was blown away with some of those things that you shared, and I just feel like it's so knowledgeable. So I'm just so happy that you were here and were able to share that. And I will have everything in the show notes below. And if this episode meant something to you, please take 30 seconds, leave a review. It helps more women who need this community actually find it, or share this with your person you know who needs it. Thank you so much for being here, Natalie. And we will
Thank you,
see
Jen.
you. Yeah, we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.